And my very special guest, yes, Mr. Dennis Hickey.
Yes.
Man who went to Knox, I'm scared of him, very scared of him because when he come on the show, he'll take it over. Very
Ah,
eloquent. And you called on him last minute, and he didn't even bat an eyelid, and he's now here with us. So, Mas Hickey, thank you very
yes, sir.
much. And I hope it's not name and nature, Hickey, Dennis Hickey. I hope not, anyhow.
Well,
Let me be.
I have lived through it through all my life, so people call me, and what it does, it helps me. It's become a brand, 'cause it's associated with my company,
Oh, what a thing! What a thing! It's great
Hickey
to.
Grant Property Masters.
I love that. It's great to have you, my brother. Now,
Yes.
somebody contacted me this morning, and I don't know why. People are scared to come on radio, scared to speak out. I don't know if you don't have people speaking out, then things will continue the same way. They pointed out to me that apparently mortgage fees are increasing,
Mortgage rates, interest rates.
interest rates are increasing, and this is posing a serious challenge for persons who, well, the income, well, even the income increase, the real income is not increasing at all. And
Mhm.
so I said, good to have you. So, if you could probably look at that and tell us what is happening and what can anyone do?
Well, interest rate is a function of rates. The interest rates on borrowing
Yes,
in an economy is a function of rates paid to investors.
right.
And what I have not done is the analysis of how much is government borrowing from the market, if any, because usually that's an indication.
Right.
So,
Because that will have
but
an
the
impact
real
on the general rate. But I hope it's not much because you know what happens when government start to borrow too much, then it have a way of pushing. Government not making, not planting yam and banana and making cars and so on. So when they borrow money like that,
absolutely, and I really at the last minute I didn't have the time to check.
yes, yes,
I
to
saw it
check on that.
happening in the lending market.
Yes,
But another time, and I'll do the research, and then I'll show it you.
right.
And if we have to talk about it, then we come back and talk about it.
Mhm.
But the fact is that the rates are trending up. In fact, not just the rates that are trending up for mortgages, but the rates to developers. So rate goes up one place, it goes up everywhere, eh? And so developers are also now having to borrow at higher rates.
I see.
Uh, I know this because this morning I came off a meeting that I chair. I chair a committee that lends money to developers
Yes.
for Money Masters Limited.
Hmm.
And I was just saying, because projects are now coming to us at new interest rates, eh? So
What
across
are
the
those
board,
rates like? What are those rates like?
for lending to developers, this morning we were talking about 12%, upwards, a little upwards of 12.
No man, wait. We're
The
going so
same,
we're back into double digits. Oh, yo.
absolutely. The same developer we had lent monies either earlier this year or late
Yes.
last year at 11 point up is crying.
Mm-hmm.
But as we discussed this morning, it's not his fault. It's a cost of
I tell you what, we have a little
you
challenge. I'm going to ask you to repeat the last probably three sentences or so. We lost you for a minute or so. I think we're not hearing him at all. Hmm. Or we're not hearing Dennis Hickey. Um, will you need to connect again or um, can I get a message to him then? Because we're definitely not hearing him. Just want to remind our listeners that if you have somewhere to rent, I think I just heard him a while ago. I just hear him faintly in the background. Dennis,
I'm hearing you.
all right, but just your volume is very low. All right, you go ahead now. I'm not hearing him on this
Yeah,
side. Yes,
I
I'm a
was
go.
hearing you. I was hearing you, Vernon.
Yes, go ahead now. We're not hearing
Right.
you.
So I'm saying, in a simple way, if you invest your money with me at and you want 8% for your money,
Yes.
and I have to lend it back to somebody, I have to lend it back to make a spread on it
Right.
to pay you back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the dynamics. But if
Oh,
we drill back down now to how it impacts mortgages and development,
yes.
if I lend to the developer at a higher cost, the developer is going to produce the house at a higher cost because the interest rate is now involved, the new rate. And so you're going to have to buy the house at a higher cost. But when you're buying the house, your mortgage rate is going to be higher now.
Mm.
So it's a double whammy.
Oh, yo.
You see, if you talk to some other practitioners in the business,
Mm-hmm.
you will discover that it's not really a supply problem we're having now because there's evidence to show that we are producing houses at lower cost than some other Caribbean countries, including Bahamas.
Really?
What we have is an income problem, Vernon.
Well, we know that already.
People's income are just not at the level
Mm-hmm.
to afford, for all of them to afford houses. So as a real estate practitioner, I get the pre-qualification letters before I put in offers on behalf of clients
Yes.
or before I submit offers. And the pre-qualification letter for plenty people in the public sector workers and those things, right,
Yes.
is within a certain band. So they're lower. They can't afford the $60 million house, a majority of them. So we've got to start producing houses, smaller houses at lower prices. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the institutions, I checked before I came on, and a couple institutions, Scotia is at 10 to 11 point something mortgage. VM and JMB somewhere in the 9 point something to 10 point odd. I'm saying that because there's a range.
Right.
The JN people just came out of the phone with me. They are 9.85 at the low to high 10, 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason for the range is based on your credit rating. So if your credit rating is clean, you get the lower band. If it's high, if your credit rating is not so good, you go to the higher band. But that's
And
not
let me
the
just
only...
explain that people understand your credit rating. If you don't pay a light bill on time, your credit
Absolutely.
card and so
Even
on.
miss payment. You miss your credit card payment because of some cash flow issue, and the people report it to the credit bureau. Your credit rating gets points, negative
Lord.
points. Now, remember also that the ability to pay back on a mortgage is not just the interest rate; it's also the tenure. So a bank like Scotia is doing straight 30 years. They'll do up to 30 years. The other institutions are subtracting. They're using a 65, at least two of them, VM, JMB, Victor, JN is using 70. But they subtract, some of them subtract your age at today's date. JN is subtracting your age at the next birthday.
Yes.
So if you're 50 years old and you're going to borrow, say, let's use Jane as the example, your maximum tenure is going to be 20 years.
Mm-hmm. So that will push your
And
monthly
that
payment up.
pushes, that it collapses the payment over a shorter period
So you have a higher.
and then raise the total payment. So when you calculate that now into what is called your match that to your debt service ratio,
Yes.
that on average says your debt
Your
for
income.
those things must be more than 40% of your
Oh,
income.
Lord.
Then you know that if your mortgage is, say, let's say your mortgage, let's use a figure.
Yes.
Your mortgage is 400,000. I use it so we can follow the calculation.
Yes.
And your debt service ratio from that institution is 40%. You must earn $1 million per month.
Before you go no further, tell Vernon how you can earn $1 million per month.
Sell real estate. Come join Hickey Grant,
Ah!
do the course, come sell some real estate, and we'll try to get you there.
Yes,
Now,
yes, yes.
you see how we sharp?
Yeah, I
Now,
know.
Yeah. Now, So let's use a lower figure for some of your listeners, because we have listeners across the spectrum.
Yes,
So
and
if we use
and
the 400,
overseas too.
yeah. So if we said
We
200,000,
have a minute left
yeah,
before we
two
go for
hundred
the break.
thousand, which is 40% of that figure of the 500,000, you must earn 500,000 per month.
Hold on, there. We have a caller. Yeah, we have a caller on the line. Let's go to this caller,
Yeah,
Dennis.
man.
Good morning. How are you? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Mr. Labby, Michael Spencer.
Yes, yes. Great to have you, my brother. Go ahead.
Yes, I was thinking of, there is this quite topical issue in the country now about persons having various travel documents.
Yes.
And I think it's a storm in a teacup, because I was looking at it and I'm thinking of Jamaica, a country of 3 million people. The world's population is 8 billion. The more connections we have to the 8 billion, I think it is best for us. Because suppose we started to tell everybody to go to drop this and go back on. Jamaica is a multiracial and a
You know what? We have a challenge
multinational.
because we're heading to the break right now, and we're on
Yes.
real estate matters.
Oh.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
All right, but I'd love to talk to you about that next week, so we can talk about that. So we're going to have to head to the break. That is,
Okay.
we're going to go
Yeah.
for the break, so you stay put. We come back and we continue. Boy, it's a wonderful lecture this morning. Gonna go for the break. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Dad. Of course, we have on the line Realtor Dennis Hickey, who's really giving us a good lesson as to the reason for the mortgage rates being high. So come back. Don't move.
The roof is leaking, the pipe without water. Not even the house no have.
Welcome back. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Darby, coming to you from Kingston, Jamaica. My very special guest we have on the line, Realtor Dennis Hickey. And the question was posed about the high mortgage rates these days, and he's giving us an explanation. I think we might have to ask him to come back next week too, but we continue the discussion. But Dennis, what do we do?
Right. So while you're off, I think so we talk about the problem. We talk about the solution.
The solutions, right.
One solution, we need to create more houses at a lower price. Government has a significant role in facilitating that. We'll talk about it next week.
Yes.
And I have some ideas. So we have to, government owns too much land in the country for people to have such a huge housing problem. But we talk about that. And we have some
You mean
ideas.
own whole land so we can capture?
No, well, we can also make it available. Vernon, I went down to my district 2 days ago.
Yes.
And people that you consider a district like mine in Bohemia Center, and like a poorish when I leave,
Yes.
I see houses, and even move them to Kingston if you could. There are mansions that will sell for the 100 million.
Yes, yes.
People have a propensity, if they have land in their hand, infrastructure, the facilities of light and water and sewer facilities and sewer come in different forms, they'll build their houses. Let's talk about that next week. Let's talk about the solution now.
Right.
One, you can combine with people, do tight legal arrangements, let your lawyers guide you. So if you have family members, try that kind of approach. My son lives in Canada where houses are expensive. They have three of them buy a house. They have a thing called co-buy. So we need to start to look at those options.
We have to start to live better before, though.
Yeah, man, and that's true. So, secondly, save as much as you can.
Yes.
When I was fully into working in the financial company that I'm associated with, I talked to people about getting that second and third income if you can. Because you have to find a solution now. We can't just sit down and say it higher. We not deal with it. So the combination with other people, using up your NHT benefits, use any shared benefit that you can get from any relative who's contributing.
Could I add one here? I gather that the NHT is still awash with cash. Why don't we lend more money at probably even a lower interest rate.
But we also have to, of course, but we also have to produce the houses that the majority can afford. So
Ah,
it's
yes,
tied back.
yes, yes, yes.
And so we can combine, we can do all of those things. The so we have to also try to. I had a guy, a client who wanted to buy a place, and he didn't have enough pre-qual. I encouraged him to buy the land, get his house designed, and build part of it. Live in half of your house, the downstairs portion, and then build the section over time.
Yes.
He took the bait, and him now have him land, and him start in development. I'm so proud that I could give that kind of advice.
And that's
to a
what that's
guy.
one important role that realtors can play because you know the business.
Absolutely. Rather than be struggling to find a house for the man for 37 million when it
Yes.
exists at that certain place.
I hope you
Now,
still give a commission for that advice. You know, I hope so.
You know, I earn the commission by selling him the land.
Ah,
I earn the relationship that makes him want to tell others that I am the go-to man. And
hear
Hickey
you.
Grant is the go-to company.
I hear you.
So I'm good. And we are not in the business for the commission. We're in the business to serve, and the earnings become a natural part of that service.
Well, that statement you made a while ago, one of my listener gave a lecture to a business person who apparently didn't understand that. So that doesn't only apply to real estate, but it applies to business generally.
Yeah, man, serve. And if you serve, you're going to get the business, and the business is going to multiply.
Exactly.
With God's guidance and grace.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we can sit down. We can do the combination thing. We must save. We must adjust our attitude to where we want to live. We all can live in Kingston because if the demand grows in Kingston, then the pressure on price is going to go up.
I see.
So consider living at other places where the house can be cheaper. The highways have now opened up and giving you access to work, sometimes faster than me and you who live in a town.
It costly to go on the highways. I was hoping that the toll rates should have been lower.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
With the highways opening up, some of those other roads, if you don't have the money for the toll road and you drive to Ochi, you can still go to Ochi fast because the other roads are now free of half of the people.
Oh, I see.
So you have to consider those things, and look at that option.
Yes.
You're not going to be blocked up on Mount Rasa now by a trailer.
And they probably, it's probably safer to travel on those roads now because
it probably so, and
because
then
the highways,
option,
the highways have become a new highway to hell.
Right. Mm-hmm. The other option is for developers to consider looking at properties on the periphery of the Kingston 6 and 8, where land is cheaper, and build houses at a lower rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then government must facilitate with the infrastructure which is required to facilitate sewer and all those things and movements. Right. But there need to be constant revisiting of the zoning requirements and the attendant infrastructure that must drive it. One of the things I believe we must also do, Vernon, has nothing to do with the cost of housing, but we must begin to create, develop, maintain. I use to maintain because there are some more green spaces. So when we buy into a small development that has little bit of green space, people can take their children and their family out into green spaces with security and those things to breathe and to relax. Because if we all start to build an apartment everywhere upon every piece of land and leave no space for people to go have a recreation. You mean you drive out to Manor Park and then move the road? That piece of land behind the fence should have already been a park for people to go breathe. You know what I mean?
And by the way, I must tell you, you can find the information to back up what I'm saying. You see now, you know a country you come from now?
Yeah, man.
You realize the country people different from town people.
Yeah, man. We have enough place to go breathe like that.
Careful how you pronounce a word, you nearly get me into trouble on air.
So we have to do it in Kingston.
You said breathe, and that's what he said, listen. Breathe.
Yeah, but you know,
yes.
Years ago, when I just left TPDCO,
yes,
and I have on the computer now a proposal which I sent to a certain place.
Yes.
That speaks to redeveloping and creating new parks and spaces for people to go sit down. And long before this massive influx
By the way,
of things.
yeah, we need to go further, but guess what?
Yeah.
You're looking into something else, so which as a reality, I guess you have thought about it. When you have green space where you can sit down and relax, probably to reduce the level of mental challenges. So there's
That's
far
the
more we
point.
can talk about.
You say it for me. So
But guess
that's
what?
where
No,
I'm going.
what I can say for you, and I can market you well enough, is to tell us how we can contact you and find Dennis.
Hickey Grant Property Masters. Use my number. So I don't confuse me with plenty numbers. 876-999-4439. We'll spread that information among the 32 agents,
Yes.
covering different areas of the country. We will give you the best advice, the best guidance. We are Instagram, which is at Hickey Grant Properties. We're on TikTok, where a lot of people have found us to buy properties from us. And our website is www.hickeygrant.com. Just remember before I go, if you go to the website, you don't have to go to no other website. You will find all the listed properties through www.hickeygrant.com.
I was talking the time. Thank you very much, my brother. And thanks very much for that lecture. I hope my listeners have learned quite a bit. We have to make a special arrangement to have you next week again. Mr. Dennis, I hope Anne-Marie will be able to be back by then. Anne-Marie Stewart. Take care, all the best, my good friend Dennis Hickey.